I'm going to be taking a break from a galaxy on fire to respond to a video that has been in the back of my mind for a while now. This video, to be precise, by Sci-Fi Kai. I don't follow the channel, and this is the only video of his I've seen. Suffice it to say, I have some issues. Let's begin with his two scenarios.
The ODST, or Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, are a highly specialized class of soldier deployed on only the most dangerous and near suicidal missions, which is why I've chosen them specifically for this video, where we'll be replacing Delta Squad from Republic Commando with Alpha 9. We gotta set some ground rules first. The first being that Alpha will be able to find ammo for whatever weapons they're using.
Effectively infinite ammo. That sounds nice.
Even if from a hypothetical narrative standpoint it wouldn't make any sense. The point of the series is to see if characters with their unique equipment and skills could survive different situations, so having Alpha lose due to not being able to use their weapons kinda defeats the point.
I don't take issue with him doing this, but I do take issue with what he says next.
Not to mention we'd then have to give them an arbitrary amount of ammo and speculate on when they'd run out, and it would just be unnecessarily messy and complicated. So we'll be putting Alpha through two different scenarios. Scenario A will only allow them to use their own weapons, so no picking up blasters or any other Star Wars weapons. Scenario B will be the opposite, where we allow Alpha to scavenge any weapons and equipment they can get their hands on.
He made a pretty severe mistake making this scenario 1. We don't need to speculate all that much. The ODST primarily utilize real-life ammunition, or close enough analogs.
The thing that's always confused me about the Halo universe, the one thing that stuck out like a sore thumb for me, is the use of explicitly 7.62 by 51 NATO ammunition for weapons like the assault rifle. I get a does not compute reaction to that, I'm afraid. The weapons are so visibly different and advanced, and yet we're still using 7.62 NATO. Not only that, I believe it's specifically M118 or M118 special ball 7.62 ammo. And reading that, you might think, oh, it's some hyper advanced 500 years hence loading of 7.62 NATO. Somehow they've got amazing new propellant, armor piercing, sub-caliber projectile, who knows? And they're just using 7.62 as the parent case. No, M118 was developed pretty early on, 60s, as a match grade round for snipers to use. So all it is more accurate than standard machine gun grade 7.62 by 51. So it's not even a future loading of 7.62. It's like everything else moved on. Ammunition technology stayed exactly where, not only stayed where it was, went back in time.
Star Wars is a universe which has quite literally left such things behind. West End Games actually says that they have made armor which is impervious to slug throwers, which would be the Star Wars equivalent to gunpowder-based firearms. Understand that the standard enemy in Republic Commando, and indeed the entire Clone Wars, do not need to wear body armor, because they are the armor. Literally, they're walking hunks of metal. The standard battle droid is made of Durasteel. Durasteel, as the name implies, is a substance harder than steel. Not only is it harder than steel, and the sort of material they make starships from, it's also likely much stronger than titanium, because titanium as a substance in the Star Wars universe is practically worthless in the face of all the exotic materials. Seldom is titanium or iron even exported from the very worlds they are found on. The ODST use some real-life ammunition, so we can draw comparisons. Quick disclaimer, I'm no expert on firearms, but I have researched the topic where it's relevant. Some of the threads I pick up on here will be relevant further down the line in my Galaxy on Fire and any future video series, so it's nice to get into it here. For any of you who are averse to the number crunching of parts 1 and 2 so far, hopefully there will be less of that here. We know that the standard assault rifle in Halo 3 ODST is the MA5C assault rifle, and it utilizes 7.62 by 51mm full metal jacket rounds, with a muzzle velocity of 920 meters per second. Here is someone using that exact same caliber, albeit with regular civilian rounds, against just half an inch of AR-500 steel.
Today we're going to try to penetrate AR-500 steel with regular 7.62 by 51 ammo. I have this set up to protect me so that I don't get hit with ricochets or spalling. Let's see what happens. We got full penetration of 1/2 inch AR-500 steel after shooting it in the exact same spot with 32 rounds of regular 147 grain 7.62 by 51 ammo with a velocity of 2,740 feet per second and 2,451 foot-pounds of energy. This shows that AR-500 steel is really strong. Well, looks like we've got penetration, and he penetrated. Even though I had that shield there, it's still freaking scary shooting 7.62 by 51 at an AR-500 steel at point blank range. I was feeling the shock every time. Let me tell you something, it was an intense feeling. I don't recommend that to anybody because honestly, I did put my life at risk. And I don't want any of you guys to.
Firing at point blank with slightly lower muzzle velocity than the MA5C, it still took 27 rounds on the exact same spot to pierce through. And while the MA5C is more powerful than the weapon used here, the B1 is made of a substance more durable than this. Here's a man firing a variety of ammo at 20 kilograms of steel, which would be somewhat less than the respective mass of a B1's torso, and of inferior metal.
Could a 45-pound steel plate stop a 50 cal rifle? That's what we're gonna answer today. We're gonna shoot this thing with higher and higher caliber bullets, and we'll see what happens to it. First up, got the 22. See if we can put some holes in this thing. All right, this is our 22 against our 45-pound plate.
Kind of sounded like it shattered and flew back at us.
All right, so our 22 hit right here, and then the lead just kind of splattered out, got caught in our plate here, didn't really do anything to it. All right, we got our 9mm full metal jacket. We're gonna be shooting a Glock 19. Here's 9mm. Yeah, you can hear that shrapnel coming back a lot more than usual. Here's our 9mm. Looks pretty similar to the 22. Did nothing to the back. Fred is still completely safe. We'll see what happens with the rifles. You know what I'd be interested to see is what would happen if you hit this thick part. This is significantly thicker. I mean, you can, Zach, if you get a shot inside here, inside this little hole where it's rounded out, you can see that's like an inch part of this hollowed out area.
Gotcha.
For now, we're just gonna shoot these big broad areas where it's a little thinner. 10mm, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. Got our 10mm full metal jacket. Let's see how it does. Moving up to the 10mm. So I'd be interested to see what you guys think in the comments. I think we're getting so much shrapnel back at us, bouncing off the roof, because when that bullet hits, it's just exploding and shooting sideways. And then the way that this plate is shaped, you have all these walls right here that are basically like ramps that's just sending it right back at us. 10mm hit right here, definitely a bigger mark than the 9mm, and you can just see all this, like all these silver marks, is just that lead where it just shot outwards and then came back at us. But plate's still fine, there's still nothing behind it. We've got our Ruger Red Hawk revolver. We've got a round of 44 Magnum. All right, 44 Magnum gets to 45-pound plate. All right, we hit right in the center of this A here. Kind of sent this lead right here to the bottom part of the plate. Tore off a big chunk of the A. Did nothing to the back of the plate. All right, moving up to our Desert Eagle. This is our last handgun in the lineup. We're gonna be shooting a round of 50 Action Express. All right, here we go. Desert Eagle against a 45-pound plate. All right, so here's where our Desert Eagle hit. Really didn't do much. Back's completely fine. Up to the 12 gauge. We're shooting our slug. All right, ready? Wow, I hit center. Look at that. All right, the slug hit right here, and then it kind of just deflected into the hole and then put a hole through Fred's stomach. All right, first shot, we hit through the hole of the weight. So this is shot number 2 with the 12 gauge slug, and we'll see what happens. Firing. All right, shotgun take 2. We hit right here, right side of the plate, and it really had no penetration at all. There's a wide mark here, but did not go through. All right, we're moving up to our scar. We're gonna be shooting around of 7.62. All right, our 7.62 hit right here, kind of took off a chunk of the top of the B, but man, our plate is completely fine. Ooh, we have a crack. We have our armor piercing incendiary round. All right, Stinger's armor piercing incendiary round. Get a shot of this thing, Zach. We got the whole plate charred here, came all the way out the back. And look at that, his shirt is literally burning from that round. Went straight through his chest and then came through the other side. All right, our plate stopped every single gun that we threw at it up until the armor piercing incendiary 50 cal round.
Most of the ammo barely scratches it, and it takes a 50 caliber anti-material incendiary full metal jacket round to breach it in the end, while most of the substance is left intact. Note the Desert Eagle here is firing Action Express 50 caliber rounds itself. It does frankly a pathetic amount of damage. For a comparison to the ODST Magnum, this is regular steel. How does titanium fare?
Okay, welcome back to another titanium video. I have shot titanium many times, but each time I've shot it, it had no back support. So this is one of the most expensive 50 BMG rounds. It's got a tungsten core inside of it, and these go for around between $60 to $125. If you're lucky, you can get them for cheap. Anyway, long story short, we're gonna put it on the stand with the string attached to it, and we're gonna have to hide, because if that bullet does not go through inside, it does not stick in there, the only way out of it is to come back, and it's gonna come back with a lot of force. So either the titanium has to absorb all this energy and let it penetrate, or if it stands strong, it's gonna push it back. So whatever comes out of that muzzle at around 3,000 feet per second or so, it should go all in. Using the meanest 50 BMG round in the world. So green tip again. This has an explosive incendiary compound on the tip and has a tungsten core inside. Yeah, we're right in there, center. Okay, fire in the hole. Oh man, look at that. Okay guys, the bullet got stuck in there. Okay, so this is gonna be really difficult to see, but looks like it either went in there, made a small hole, or it broke off. So the Raufoss round, I think its main design is for it to do a really good job in melting the steel on the surface and going inside. I don't see anything here on the ground, but we're gonna hit it with a different round, armor piercing, incendiary, see what that does. It's a bigger bullet inside. It's got a heavier core. So let's do that. We're gonna go with the armor piercing incendiary. Okay, fire in the hole. Oh, it started a fire. There you have it. It obviously ricocheted. Even point blank, it is not making it through.
Point blank, anti-material rifle, 50 caliber incendiary, full metal jacket rounds on a slab of titanium that likely weighs around 15 kilograms or less did not go through. Remember in Star Wars that titanium is almost worthless compared to durasteel, cortosis, frick, and a litany of other metals. Unless we assume the ODST sniper is firing magic bullets and steep into power scaling, which is a long argument that the ODST will lose, it is debatable if even anti-material rounds from the ODST sniper will pierce a B1 battle droid, let alone put one down for good. For all the mockery thrown at a B1, the things are surprisingly resilient. All the more impressive when you consider just how potent blasters truly are in Star Wars.
Get behind me! Get behind me!
That leaves the Spartan laser. I don't care much to go into depth on the power generation for this thing in this video, even if it could one-shot any of the standard CIS units. The thing takes about 5 seconds to charge and fire with a cooldown period, and it can't reload. Will the ODST cower behind Dutch for the entire campaign, Soviet style, like Enemy at the Gates? Do you think his enemies are going to sit back and let him line them up? The answer is no. The B1s are the entry-level enemies in this game, and probably the weakest. Remember that anytime this guy starts talking about how the ODST will easily pass through a room, practically by virtue of showing up. Scenario 1 doesn't even leave Camino. The ODST are laughably underarmed, and on inspection, get told to get back inside the facility and change their gear. Time to upgrade their arsenal.
Let's begin breaking down the ODSTs.
Oh, brother. So check your mouths, find your chairs, and get set for a combat drop.
Unlike Delta Squad, which is composed of 4 members, Alpha 9 is composed of 5, Buck being the commanding officer, Dutch being the team's heavy weapon specialist, Romeo the squad's expert marksman, Mickey the explosive ordnance expert, and Rookie, who doesn't specialize in anything in particular, but is just a well-rounded great soldier. The members of Alpha 9 all wear the standard Human Covenant war model of the ODST armor, which features titanium and ceramic materials for the armor plating, and a black bodysuit composed of Kevlar to protect against small ballistics fire. The inner layer contains a heating and cooling system, capable of matching infrared signals to make the wearer essentially invisible to thermal imaging.
I don't know where he got this from, but someone probably should have told the developers that. Maybe it's just a mistake or a retcon, but I think if they wanted to be invisible, they probably should have sealed up their armor or worn gloves. None of this really matters amongst the substance of his video, but here we are now, and it stuck out to me.
And the outer layer is coated in heat-resistant material to reduce temperatures during orbital drop and protect from plasma weapons. The standard primary weapon for most members of Alpha is the M7S silenced SMG, which fires low caliber 5mm rounds, with their standard sidearm being the M6S silenced Magnum, firing semi-armor piercing 50 caliber projectiles. While these two weapons are the standard carry for most ODSTs like Rookie, more specialized members carry other weapons. Dutch carries the M6 Spartan Laser, which fires an energy beam capable of destroying heavily armored vehicles like the Wraiths in 1 or 2 shots, and Romeo mains the S2 anti-material rifle, which, while the type of ammunition the weapon fires isn't specified, there is a statement that claims the weapon can penetrate 13 feet of flesh and bone from 600 yards away, on top of the fact that it's an AMR and not just your typical sniper rifle. AMRs are used for taking out military structures, equipment, and armored vehicles, so needless to say, it's pretty impressive. Now that we have a good understanding of Alpha Team as well as their armor and weaponry, it's time to put them in the shoes of Delta Squad to see if they could survive the events of Republic Commando, starting with Scenario A.
Banshees, on your 6! Interject! We're losing her! Watch out! Ah! Mickey, Dutch!
The start of the game has the team being briefed by their clone advisor, and dropping on Geonosis.
Pause. Go back. I assume his scenario involves spawning the entirety of Alpha 9 outside Sunfac's compound, and skipping the first segments of the game, and ignoring the fact that Delta Squad touched down independently in the middle of a war zone. One thing that is sort of brushed over here is the fact that Republic Commando armor is shielded against all the sorts of blaster energies I have previously cited, and yet an anti-infantry round still did this.
Delta Lead, are you alright? You just took an anti-infantry round. Your vitals don't look very good.
The ODST road trip to Geonosis debatably wouldn't even last 30 seconds, with no exaggeration. It deserves an entire video on its own, but I'll just lightly tap into the topic. Clone troopers are sequenced from the DNA of the best DNA template among a galaxy of genetically diverse humans, modified, enhanced, and then monitored and trained across their entire life for one purpose: to wage war across a galaxy of metal and aliens. An entire batch of the Republic Commandos went missing because their accuracy was less than 95% in sniping. You will see, as he omits, that almost every threat you face is a potent threat to the standard clone trooper and yourself.
Okay, we're above the LZ. Hook in. Look out! I will be providing a primary target in the Geonosis. They're in the threat! Pull back together, Victor! Pull back! New objective uploaded. Sir, you're heading into enemy territory. Thick with droids and bugs. We're erecting barricades as a makeshift defense perimeter. Droids approaching your position. Hostiles have broken our line!
These clone troopers are wearing advanced modern battle armor that in totality weighs 40 kilograms. Your average clone is closer to a heavy shock trooper knight than a regular soldier. They are fighting a galactic war with this and any additional equipment on their person. This creature is a Geonosian warrior. They are elite Geonosian soldiers and come with a natural exoskeleton that functions as armor. This is what Republic Commandos do to them in combat.
Ready to detonate. It's all yours, boss. I love that sound. Fuck you. Boss, you have to detonate the ordnance, or we're not...
Delta Lead, are you alright? You just took an anti-infantry round. Your vitals don't look very good.
To reach their target, they'll have to fight B1 battle droids and Geonosian warriors, both of which shouldn't give the ODSTs too much trouble.
Citation needed.
The B1s are notoriously fragile.
Citation needed. They are notoriously fragile in a universe of kinetic energy weaponry, vastly more powerful than our own. Yes. They also pack firepower analogous to their enemies and can kill regular clones in a single hit.
And while the warriors are a real threat, Alpha Team is no stranger to fighting enemies physically larger and stronger than them.
Our clones? He will use this argument a lot in the future, I guess clones and Republic commandos are used to fighting enemies smaller and weaker than they are. As mentioned before, if we want to take a trip down scaling hell, this will end miserably for the ODSTs. I hope the ODST are prepared for a planet-spanning odyssey with 100 billion pissed-off bugmen. Make sure you bring your comfortable clothes.
Modern soldier's greatest fear. It's not death, it's not starvation, it's chafing.
And, careful with the tunnels. There's worse things down there than bugs and eggs.
As they make their way through the caves and hives of Geonosis, they'll eventually come across blockades that will need to be destroyed in order to progress. Luckily, Mickey and his explosives should make this a non-issue.
Unluckily for Mickey, those explosives are not only likely supplied by the huge glow-in-the-dark HQ sitting right behind him,
thank God! Does one of you know how to use explosives?
Men, check those charges.
Wait, what? More explosives?
Yeah, what gives? I thought we were supposed to protect this building.
I have orders to deny enemy access to all classified data housed in this facility. You don't like it, jump your butts back into orbit.
Only thing I don't like is that our butts are currently inside this facility.
Everyone on the elevator. I put enough charges in this shaft to blow this building twice.
All right, that's it. Transfer the detonation codes to my comm. If anyone's taking this place out, it's gonna be me.
but I don't think he's even remotely equipped with the firepower the commandos need in the course of this game, even on individual missions and objectives. The commandos can seldom blink before there's some new obstacle in the way that needs radical restructuring.
Scorch, I need you to demo their bunker for me. Good. I'm dying to blow something up. Just get us inside without killing the squad, okay, Scorch? Great. Place a charge on the jamming device. No way across. Looks like we're gonna have to make our own bridge. Fire in the hole! Reach that door. Cover, Delta. I think we need to hit this thing again.
Hey. It's a droid dispenser, 07. Next time, read the briefing. Grenade thrown!
And the nature of the explosions appear to involve pulverizing or vaporizing tens or hundreds of tons of metal or rock at a time.
But on the other hand, sometimes a computer or system will need to be hacked into in order to open a door or complete an objective.
Oh, trust me, I think Alpha 9 will have plenty of bigger problems to worry about than slicing into computer systems. ODST armor is not standing up to the kinds of firepower Star Wars can bring to bear in small arms fire. Even someone like Han Solo, who is using what is effectively a sidearm for stormtroopers, is essentially packing a semi-automatic grenade launcher with light-speed bullets.
Loading the first one. $30 feet away.
30 feet, 4 shots, armor piercing, into about a 4-inch circle.
We're already finding brass. Of course, is the outside of the blocks. And we've, of course, did a pretty good job pulverizing this one little section. Here's another piece of brass. There's an actual bullet that was only... That bullet was less than 4 inches deep inside the wall. And that's a tungsten steel armor piercing round. More brass. course, you can imagine 8 rounds coming in. Well, let's just see how big the whole hole is here. 6 inches across. Of course, that's shattered out. We put most of the rounds within about a 4-inch circle. Another round right there. Again, about 7 inches of penetration. Again, 7 inches of penetration. Deepest penetration of the wall.
If they're able to somehow find a way around hacking the jammer, they'll eventually run into super battle droids, which, unlike the B1s, are heavily armored and highly dangerous.
This is Delta. We have a berserker in the vicinity. Please advise.
Luckily, ODST armor is built to protect against plasma damage, but even so, the wrist blasters on the B2 are pretty powerful, able to shred through a commando's shield and Duraplast armor insanely quickly. Not to mention the wrist rockets, which Alpha, of course, are gonna have to look out for.
The super battle droids don't use wrist rockets in this game, and are likely a variant B2 battle droid. Note they can manifest shields and are far taller than their B1 compatriots. This is probably a good time to note for any viewers here for the long haul. We will be avoiding TCW as much as possible. That is a topic I am not even remotely equipped to address. It is such a catastrophic minefield that it would take hours to fully impress the issues upon you. There's a litany of people who know the truth, and the problems are worse than they can express. Educate yourselves.
During the Human Covenant War, they would have gained plenty of experience fighting countless elites and hunters, and in Halo 3, Rookie, even by himself, can take out squads of brutes solo.
Delta Squad successfully shot their way through the surface and bowels of an enemy world with over 100 billion hostile aliens and countless droids to not only assassinate a top lieutenant for the enemy faction, but neutralize one of their most critical droid factories on the entire planet while it was actively producing war material, and they broke through and destroyed an anti-air facility, taking on all challengers, including anti-infantry walking droid tanks. As if that wasn't enough, they then broke into the main separatist core ship at the Battle of Geonosis, stole codes that would do incalculable damage to the early CIS movement, and all in their very first battle of the Clone Wars. Republic Commandos are credited with carrying the Republic war effort on their back in numerous engagements.
The B2s will probably have to be dealt with by Romeo's AMR or Dutch's Spartan Laser, because unlike the Commando's DC-17 blaster rifle, I can't see the low caliber SMG getting through the tougher armor, though the Magnum with its higher caliber semi-armor piercing rounds might be able to do at least some damage.
They might bend the nose on a B1 if you shoot it enough, sure.
The real threat they'll face on Geonosis is the mini spider droid, but due to its slow movement and the fact that it takes substantial damage from the grenade launcher attachment for the blaster rifle, the Spartan Laser shouldn't have too much trouble taking it out.
You might want to inform people less familiar with Republic Commando that the advisor says this in the very video you showed just seconds before.
What's that? It's a spider droid, look out!
Delta, pay attention. You may only have one shot at this. You're looking at a dwarf spider droid, one of the Commerce Guild's nastiest anti-infantry units. Its durasteel plating is rated for starship hulls, and is nearly invulnerable to small arms fire. Only its optical cluster, the red orb on its abdomen, is unshielded and vulnerable.
In other words, shoot the big red spot. Focus on that optical cluster, Delta.
I don't think the Spartan Laser is going to cut it. He is simply taking it as a given that the anti-armor attachment is inferior to the Spartan Laser when handheld clone weaponry can do stuff like this. Side note, The limited ammo anti-armor is the go-to recommendation for dealing with those B2 battle droids.
Once they catch up to Sunfac making his getaway in his ship, Romeo shouldn't have much trouble taking him out the exact same way Sev did, since the AMR is capable of taking out Banshees and other armored vehicles.
Again, he is just taking it as a given that the Halo Sniper and Star Wars weaponry and vehicles are comparable. There are some small issues with this line of thinking. Even the bubble turret incredible cross-sections figure is restated in the Prima guide for this very game.
Granted, this is likely done from range and not in melee where brutes and other enemies have an advantage. Well, many of these can be bypassed by Mickey simply destroying the lock on the door or whatever console needs to be hacked. That isn't always possible. In the situation where their only choice is to hack a system, they unfortunately don't have a computer specialist like Fixer on the team to fill this role. So if you think Alpha isn't able to hack into Separatist systems or can't find a way around this issue, they could be blocked from progressing at key points, such as when Delta had to slice into the underground jamming device to disable it. Upon reaching the core ship, the group is separated with the objective of sabotaging different sectors of the ship, and this is where things can get a bit sketchy for Alpha. Everyone is on their own, and the core ship is filled with dormant B2s, and while most can be snuck by if careful, some will activate no matter what. In this situation, Romeo and Dutch, due to their weapons, should be fine.
What the hell am I supposed to do with this inside a Covenant ship?
But Rookie, Buck, and debatably Mickey might have trouble here, only having access to weapons that may not be able to damage the B2s. Now, to be fair, every member of Alpha survived on their own for a period of time in a Covenant-controlled New Mombasa.
I know I'd rather be sleeping Rookie in a damaged drop pod snoozing until midnight while the other ODST fight with some degree of support during the day than take one step into the Geonosis catacombs or a ship riddled with battle droids in cramped spaces. But that's just me.
Watch out!
After meeting back up and gaining access to the bridge, all that's left standing between the ODSTs and victory on Geonosis is slicing into the bridge's computer to get the launch codes, which once again I'm kinda doubtful they could do, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt here.
That is something of a running theme for this video. It is extremely doubtful the ODST lasts the first 30 seconds on Geonosis. With their own tech, there is no hope. With commando gear, assuming they can haul it, they last until they get so much as sneezed on by any enemy in this game.
The issue here is less their skill as a soldier, and more so the effectiveness of their weapons against the super battle droids. Though it's possible that a combination of the Magnum and maybe a few frag grenades could get the job done.
Recommend you take the thermal detonator grenades from the ammo pallet and destroy that gun position. Grenades have been added to your inventory. Excellent. Now load the grenades at that gun position. The only way to take out that gun emplacement is with grenades. Very impressive, 3-8. Concentrate your squad's fire on single targets to penetrate their armor.
So they get the launch codes and evacuate through the aft door on the far end of the bridge, which concludes the chapter on Geonosis. So far, the only real issue I see Alpha having is with slicing Separatist systems, but other than that, they should be able to deal with all of the enemies encountered so far, even with just their own weaponry. But this next chapter will provide completely new enemies and obstacles for Alpha to overcome. Over a year after the battle on Geonosis, a missing Republic assault ship named the Prosecutor has suspiciously reappeared on the outskirts of Separatist space, and Alpha Team is deployed to investigate. Now right off the bat, we gotta talk about the ODSTs and how they deal with the vacuum of space. At the start of the chapter, Delta is briefed by the advisor that they have to spacewalk in order to get inside the Prosecutor. While ODST suits and helmets can be vacuum sealed and supply up to 15 minutes of oxygen, Alpha Team specifically has never been shown using this or having access to specific 0G ODST armor variants or attachments, like the Black Daggers have. But if they're being sent on a mission that requires pressurized suits, I don't see a reason they wouldn't be allowed access to armor attachments or variants that allow them to survive in the vacuum of space. But if you think it's a cop-out to give them equipment we've never seen them use before, that's fair, but in this situation I think it makes sense.
I think making sure their suits work in space would be the least of their worries.
After blasting out into space and splitting up to different parts of the ship, they come across hostile scavenger droids hiding in the dark underbelly of the Prosecutor. 3-8 was only able to see them due to his visor's low light mode, but luckily the ODST's visors are also equipped with a similar function that also highlights enemies. Eventually, one member of Alpha will be knocked out by the appearance of the Trandoshans, which, depending on who's in Boss's situation, will be attacked by a group of Trando Berserkers, and since they're mostly unarmored, I don't see any of the ODSTs having too much trouble with them, especially since they're used to fighting brutes and elites, both of which are faster and stronger.
Citation needed. I won't get too deep into this topic until a later date, but suffice it to say, there is a litany of beyond human stats in the Star Wars universe, and leave it at that. I certainly wouldn't want to go up against anyone who can turn an acclimator worth of clone troopers into a multi-million ton coffin.
Where are we? Changing visor mode.
What the? You've got to be kidding.
Alright, this is getting serious. You lizards need to learn that I'm a lot scarier than you are.
The same goes for the Trando Elite. Besides his repeater gun being an issue, I really don't see him being much different to take down than a brute, so regardless of the ODST and Boss's situation, they should be able to pull it off. After finishing the Elite, Alpha meets back up in the ship's prison sector where they fight through waves of droids and slavers until suddenly the sector is flooded with poison gas, where luckily Alpha is saved by their pressurized suit and can escape through a hatch in the wall.
Make sure you wear gloves and pray this stuff isn't transmissible via skin contact.
Alpha has to fight their way through the hangar bay where they find a Republic walker to take out the droid refineries and force field regulator, which based on how we see the walker cannon is fired, Alpha should be able to figure it out pretty easily. A new enemy they'll come across are the Droidicas, which can deploy a polarized bubble shield.
He seems to have forgotten they're on Geonosis,
allowing them to block projectiles while firing their own. And normally this would probably be an issue for Alpha, 1 or 2 shots from the Spartan laser should bring it down. And if that fails, the Droidicas can't keep their shields up for long anyway, so they could always wait out the shield.
Citation needed. It was very kind of him to neglect to mention that there is a veritable horde of enemies that stand between you and your end goal in this mission. Oh, and while Alpha 9 are waiting out Droidicas, somehow, the ship is being blown to pieces by the nearby Lucrahulk.
This may not work, but it's our only shot. This tunnel leads to one of the ship's turbo lasers.
Why don't we just fly out of here?
Engines offline.
Figures.
Enemy droids.
Well done, sir.
This could get ugly. Definitely myself, sir.
Detonation.
Hull integrity compromised. Hull integrity at 75%. at 50%.
Eliminate target.
Hull integrity at 25%.
Gunnery station told me I logged a few hours here back in the day. You have to slice all 3 terminals. That will focus all the ship turrets onto the largest enemy target.
Unmanned gunnery against a battle cruiser?
We can give them a black eye at least.
We'll make them regret the day they blew up Delta Squad.
Opening fire on the Separatists. They appear to be willing to stand their ground. Delta Advisor. We're working on it, Captain.
MPD's ahead.
Guns online. Opening fire.
Hold your position, squad. This won't take long. Enemy down. Enemy shields buckling. They're finished.
What's going on?
It's the battleship. Their droid control systems are down.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
Thanks for the assistance, Captain.
Glad to be of service, Delta Squad.
They made Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan turn tail and run. I think Alpha 9 may experience some challenges taking down a single droidica.
After taking out the remaining droids and slicing into the terminals to activate the ship's auto defenses, being a bit generous to Alpha here that they can accomplish that, of course.
Just a bit.
That ends the Prosecutor chapter of the campaign.
Service, Delta Squad. No one steals a ship from the Republic while we're around.
So far it seems that hacking terminals and debatably some of the stronger enemies are the biggest hurdles for Alpha Team.
The biggest hurdles for Alpha 9 are not getting in the way of the experts doing their jobs.
Depending on how strong you think the Trando Elite is, and if a single ODST could take him out, or how strong the super battle droids are, and if you think the Spartan Laser or Romeo's AMR is powerful enough to deal with them. But honestly, so far I think they've done a lot better than I expected with their equipment. But the final test will be the very end of the campaign on the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. When it comes to Kashyyyk, there's not a ton of new challenges that the ODSTs will have to face, as it's mostly just fighting through waves of enemies they've already encountered up until this point, and here they even have the help from the Wookiees. However, there's one new enemy type that could be a major problem.
The Magna Guard section is perhaps the most egregious of all his claims.
That being the Magna Guards that act as General Grievous' personal bodyguards. Alpha will have to fight 2 Magna Guards on 2 separate occasions, both times being aided by the Wookiee chieftain Tarful.
I have no idea how he consistently gets this information wrong.
There's nothing to be done now. Disregard and focus on your primary.
Now, we are fucked.
You do not fight 4 Magna Guards, you fight 9, and even 1 or 2 that can go invisible, and the Wookiees are not there to save you.
In other pieces of Star Wars media, Magna Guards can even press Jedi Knights, and larger groups can challenge Jedi Masters in melee combat. So needless to say, they'll be the biggest challenge of the entire game for Alpha 9.
Got a visual on a landing pad.
Positive ID on General Grievous.
What's he? Damn!
We've been spotted. Get down there. Move!
What the galaxy was that?
Magna Guards bare minimum have massively hypersonic combat speed.
The Revenge of the Sith novel states they react at near the speed of light actually.
Due to the fact that they can fight Jedi Knights like Nadar Veb, or Clone Wars era Ahsoka Tano, who as a Padawan was relative to Ventress.
I hate TCW so much, man.
Maybe if you're very generous to Alpha, Tarful can distract them while Dutch lines up Spartan laser shots, but I think you have to kinda downplay the Magna Guards and be a bit generous to Alpha Squad.
Just a bit generous.
Granted, it might be implied that Delta defeated them in a similar way.
No. They're quite capable of putting them down when the Magna Guard has a spider droid to back it up. Imagine fighting the Master Chief while he has a tank behind him. and you're slowly approaching the same ballpark here.
As they don't have hypersonic combat speed either, so it's not impossible.
So, Magna Guards have hypersonic combat speed because they can pressure Jedi, but Republic Commandos do not have hypersonic combat speed even though they can take on Magna Guards with unfavourable odds and still win. Makes a lot of sense to me. There is that one time Darman humbled a Jedi Padawan in the Republic Commando novel when she thought he was a Mandalorian and tried to kill him, causing Darman to calmly disarm her. But we don't need to worry about that. Alpha 9 are never getting close to the end.
If they're able to make it past the first wave of Magna Guards, the rest of Kashyyyk should be smooth sailing since it's all just enemies Alpha has fought already up until this point, which means all members make it to the turrets and are able to destroy the Separatist cruiser. Honestly, before writing the script for this video, I thought Alpha would stand almost no chance.
And you were right.
But after going over everything, they honestly have a much better shot than I thought.
If they get babysat by Republic Commandos as a force multiplier and given body shields, maybe there's a chance the bullets will miss.
But what if we allow them to pick up weapons from the Trandos or use Republic weapons? Well, it honestly doesn't change all that much. It really just makes the journey easier because honestly, Romeo's AMR and Dutch's Spartan Laser are doing a lot of heavy lifting.
What the hell am I supposed to do with this inside a Covenant ship?
Without them, I don't think Alpha could make it due to the SMG and Magnum being too weak to take out enemies stronger than the average B1 or Trando Berserker. So could Alpha Team survive the events of Republic Commando? It's debatable.
It really isn't.
If you think they could figure out how to hack into Separatist systems and that their weapons would be effective against the stronger enemy types, or allow them to use Star Wars weapons, then it's possible. The real problem is going to be the Magna Guards. While Delta Squad aren't relative to Jedi in speed, clone commandos are trained by Mandalorians from birth on top of being genetically enhanced super soldiers, and even with the help of a Wookiee chieftain, barely managed to pull it off. So while you can possibly make the argument for Alpha squeaking out a W, I personally don't really see it.
At least he hesitantly has the correct answer with all the wrong working. I saw this when it released. Eventually I had to make a response. Originally I intended to write a comment and leave it at that, but upon finding very few detractors to the obvious glaring issues in the comments, I figured that would be a waste of my time. This video, and the supporters of it, certainly are a quagmire. It omits, embellishes, and stretches details to such an extent to make it look as though the scenario is even remotely fair, when it isn't. ODSTs have neither the training, skill, or outright physicality to step into the Katarn boots of the Republic Commando. They would not be fit even to take the place of the standard clone trooper off the assembly line. In the scenario where we have ODSTs using standard gear, just about every weapon they use typically is utterly useless, and orders of magnitudes weaker than the standard blaster rifle. Unlike the blaster, ODSTs will have to be considered by their own ammunition coming back at them. All the while, these commando missions are time-sensitive endeavours. Even if we granted that they could eventually hurt any of the standard enemy units, they will not complete any of their objectives. I haven't bothered to address the whole slicing aspect, which dogs the ODST the second they step inside Sunfact's compound, and any other time they have a time-sensitive mission. There is just too much wrong in this video. The Republic Commandos have Bacta dispensers on hand almost at all times, shielded armour that is constantly upgraded throughout the war, the most advanced weaponry, tailored genetics, the best training, even while sleeping, the best trainers, blatant superhuman physicality, all the intel and on-mission advice, and they are still, at all times, challenged and faced with impossible odds they barely come out ahead of. Here's something to remember. Even on Geonosis, the commandos and their handlers knew what they were getting into. They knew about droid dispensers. They knew about super battle droids. They knew who Sun Fac was. They seemingly knew about spider droids, possibly years before the Battle of Geonosis, as they were fighting them in the Sims on Camino. They had all the intel, and it was just enough. They can take on lightspeed reacting droids, humble Jedi Padawans using the dark side, and other squads were trained by past their prime old men who can do things like drag and strangle huts that weigh as much as an average car. There's no comparing ODST to clones, unless you use forms of argumentation which would by proxy put the clones further ahead anyway. There's a plethora of other factors we could go into, which I feel are unneeded. He does not once mention these guys, for example. The toughest Geonosians you'll face. Their beam weapon packs a punch on even the easiest difficulty, and is stated to convert the creature's own blood to energy, which is... yeah. Never once does he mention these guys, who ambush and threaten the commandos at every turn.
38. I'm reading a slaver ship in Hangar A. Have you run into any Trandoshans?
Lots of them, and they've been throwing battle droids at us.
The Trandoshans have been more concerned with acquiring Wookiee pelts than taking sides in this war.
Then what are they doing here?
And why would the Seps be selling clinkers to slavers? I'll keep analyzing the logs. In the meantime, get down to Hangar A and shut them down.
Wait, do you hear that?
Sounds like a door breach?
Under 6, boss.
Trandoshan.
Who are these guys?
Trandoshan mercenaries. They've got military training and the hardware to match. Don't take them lightly.
Trendo SMG. Interesting.
These guys can hide anywhere.
Let's keep it slow and careful.
Delta, this ship has enormous stores of data about the Trandoshans.
I noticed. It's been recording everything that happens on board.
Every weapon, every maneuver. The Republic could spend months analyzing this data. And the Wookiees could use it to get an edge on the slavers.
Yeah! Wookiee life debts for everyone!
I don't like the looks of this.
Destroyed. Cover me. I can't rush this now.
Delta 3-8, I've been analyzing ship communication logs. The Trandoshans have arranged a rendezvous with the Separatists at this location.
They're gonna hand over the ship?
I'm contacting the Republic for assistance. In the meantime, get down to the hangar and take it.
What the?
We got slavers, Delta.
Ambush!
Damn, there goes our escape route.
They're on the catwalks!
We're outgunned. Go for the door. No go, boss. It's a trap. Advisor, we're in deep here.
Hold your rations, Delta. There's a maintenance access hatch nearby. Find it and blow your way in.
Delta, give me an explosive solution. I found the in charge.
Ooh, where's it lead?
Well, who cares as long as it's not here?
Accessing. It leads to a landing bay. Blow it up and get out of there.
Explosive set, 3-8. Lizards home! Get clear! I love that sound. Advisor, we've reached the landing pad. I'm sending you exfil coordinates now.
Excellent. Secure the landing pad and proceed into the camp.
What? I didn't do it. Lizards home!
They're on the catwalks!
Squad leader, good shot.
Leader, the Trandos are keeping the Wookiees in the structure with the antenna on it. Let's get in there and free some Wookiees.
What the?
Oil covering vector.
That's the detention facility. Turtle must be in there. Trouble ahead, Commander.
Scorch, in position. Okay, everybody. They're waiting for us.
Yes, sir. Detonator placed. Clear.
Fire in the hole! On the move, awaiting orders.
Watch out, it's a trap!
Mark's here! Good shots.
Constantly readjusting and throwing all they have in the way of the clones. Stated to be able to go claw-to-toe with the best clone troopers, they ultimately failed to stop Delta Squad from achieving every goal in the game, except one.
Delta Lead, get your men under control. One commando is not worth risking an entire operation.
One commando? He's talking about my pod brother.
Needless to say, I don't think this video is very good. For some end video craziness, commando shields can hold out against the bubble turrets referenced in this game's own Prima guide, and so can the unshielded armor. Even for fractions of a second, this is insane. What is interesting is that whoever did the Prima guide made an error. They accidentally gave the bubble turret the anti-infantry energy figures from ICS, but it's actually over a dozen times more powerful. Bubble turrets are stated to be far stronger in the original ICS and its reprints. Even if we accepted the lower figure, commandos can still withstand near single-digit tons of TNT firepower or greater. In conclusion, commandos are strong as hell. Also, Sev seems to be force sensitive.
Go, go! Good riddance to bad lizards.
Delta, the Separatists could be here any minute.
I think it. I see it. A Trade Federation battleship.
Yeah, not even you can see into hyperspace, Sev.
No, it's on the edge of the system. Take a look.
Oh, blast. This will be a challenge.
I'm sending out a distress signal. We can't wait for help from Coruscant.
Advance to the next hangar and set up a defense. Move!
I'm opening up.
What are you attacking, 3A?
Check your aim.
To cover. Awaiting orders.
Sunfac, run for the door. Stop him.
He's made it through.
Delta lead, it is absolutely vital that Sunfac not escape.
Problems, Delta.
Check your fire. Taking fire.
Squadmate needs medical attention.
Got a visual. Placing detonator. Clear!
Fire in the hole!
Breach successful. Let's go! There he is, outside the shield.
Delta lead, assign 07 to sniper position. We need a target on Sunfac. Sunfac is making a run for it. Delta lead, it is absolutely vital that Sunfac not escape. You're running out of time. Use your marksman. Put 07 on that position and let him do his job. Sunfac's fighter is warming up. Delta, what are you doing?
Powering up.
Mission failed, Delta. Report to base for reconditioning. Sorry, lads. It's over for Delta Squad. Squadmate needs medical attention. Delta Squad, 3-8 is down.
Woo-hoo! Yeah! I love that smell!
All I smell is burnt Geonosis.
3-8, my scanners show an explosion.
That's affirmative. Subject terminated.
Here is that small slab of titanium from before, now being hit with anti-tank rounds.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are back with our titanium 20mm armor piercings, tungsten. Fire in the hole! Oh, right on! Okay, guys, battery died. I have to change it. So here it is. This thing is so hot. Okay, this goes to show you that the 50 caliber, when I shot it, even if I had it at a 90-degree angle, it still wouldn't have made any difference. But we're gonna shoot it one more time with the armor piercing one, the black tip. Right? Ready? Fire in the hole! Where's the plate? Okay, this is crazy.
Walk it,
how many yards is that?
I'm gonna walk it up.
So between 30 to 35 yards. That's how far it threw this plate off. Wow, not bad of a hit. Damn. What do you think this is, like a half an inch deep?
Yeah.
Wow, even with those 20mm rounds, we get about a half inch deep.
Not a bad group.
Round 2 with the red tip, and we're gonna shoot it again with the black tip. The black tip is the armor piercing, and that red tip, it's tungsten round. It's supposed to be better in penetrating, so we'll see.
Ready?
So it's just curved off.
That's why it's
top
spun
right
so much.
Right, we're going round 2 on the tungsten round. Fire in the hole! So this is about 1.5 inch thick titanium, and this is the first time that we're getting a little bulging, and it's coming out, it's tearing it apart over here. So if you guys remember, this is on the last video where we shot it with the armor piercing one, and it's about maybe 1/2 inch deep hole, and on this one it's close to 1 inch and it's coming out. That's right, can you see it from over there?
I have unsuccessfully tried to identify the mass of the slab. If nothing else, it can be held one-handed. The anti-tank rounds take it for a trip, but it remains intact. We will be talking about B1s in the future, so look for that. The ODST have an infinitesimally smaller chance than the guys that you saw get massacred in the first chapter of the game. But there you go. That's it. That's the video. Hope you enjoyed it.